Hello and welcome to The Current. And as you can clearly see, I'm not on my own. I'm here with the beautiful Ilham. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. You've been so busy. I've been following you on Instagram. So thank you for giving your time to all of our fellow cuties out there.
It's always an honor to be here, and welcome back to The Current. And I would love to, to share and get in contact with you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's jump straight into it. So today we're going to be going through the key trends for spring summer 2021. And then we're going to be giving you an interpretation on a live model. Myself for the haircut, and of course Ilham for the
styling, of course.
The maestro herself. So we've got a lot to do today. So let's get on with it. Are you excited?
I'm very excited, but I'm so happy that you did the haircut, because I always need the perfect base to create something. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I'm very happy that you're going to be doing perfect styling. So it's going to be great. I really can't wait.
Thank you.
So, okay, let's jump straight into it. So 2019 was all about va-va-voom, volume, excess, bling bling. Brighter colors, bolder haircuts, more volume. That was really, it's your bag, right?
I love it.
You love that.
Yes.
I love it as well. But I think you'll agree, 2020 was really a time of change, right?
Totally,
so
yes.
Looking more inwards, back to basics, simplicity. And I think if you wanted to expand a bit more on this, because I know the word authenticity is something that really sticks with you, right?
Yeah, definitely. And because I do believe that taking time for yourself to get in contact with your inner you, it's really important. And being authentic is living a life where you are true to yourself, who you really want to be.
Yeah.
And for me, being authentic is really like to connect with your inner self. And it's also a collection of choices that we make every single day.
Yeah.
So making choices to show up and be nice and be real, making the choice to be honest, and also making the choice to show your real you.
Yeah. I love that. So your best you, right?
Your best you, exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think if we think about really, that was the narrative of 2020. And I think thinking back to hair, it's all about shine, healthy hair.
Taking care of your hair. I mean, it's an extension of who you are.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So for you guys, as I'm sure you're already aware, 2021, Shine On, Semi-Color, the perfect companion for beautiful, glossy, healthy hair.
Definitely.
But more on that a little later on. So thank you, Ilham.
Thank you, my dear.
So let's have a quick look. What we've done is we've looked at really the overall trend, back to basics, and we've now managed to subdivide it into 4 sub-trends. Now we're going to do a deeper dive into them. So let's get on. Let's kick off with our first trend story, outdoor, indoor. So outdoor, indoor is all about this beautiful simplicity in the fashion narrative. So functional, khakis, very functional forms and shapes. And there is this sense of androgyny running through this narrative. But there's also an element of sophistication running through it. And I think if I look here at Madame Ilham, yes, beautiful, beautiful. I think we have a little bit of indoor at the top and outdoor at the bottom.
Yeah, but when we're talking about, look at you.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Look at that. So I don't know what this is. I think it's just a bit of more outdoor. Yeah. But absolutely, I think you can say that this absolutely is a narrative at the moment, right?
Totally.
It really is.
Yeah.
We see this everywhere. I think cool khaki and a play on khakis, like we have here, is really central to the story. So this is one of the key narratives that we're going to see running through the summer of next year.
But the most important thing, of course, because the thing is that of course, trends are there to inspire people. But, talking about being authentic, it's for me, it's not how do I fit in the trend, but how does the trend fit on me, and make the right combination to make it your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I'm also the same. I mean, of course, You know, trends are great to help guide us and kind of navigate through that world of fashion.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
absolutely, you always put your own stamp on it. Really be the best version of yourself.
Of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, Ilham, perfect timing. Let's talk about the hair narrative. So, you want to explain a little bit more detail about the hair and the styling?
Yeah, we saw a lot of shapes and really nice androgyne styling and blonde fringes and you know, again talking about being authentic. Even the haircut, we saw like disconnections. We saw the shag cut, but it's all about, you know, how can you make it fit on you as a person. And for me, that's really like, you know, that it has that natural kind of feeling, but still with a nice edge on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want, if you don't mind, I want to expand a bit, because let's come back to the fringes.
Yes.
Because something that we really identified was this idea of the worn fringe, this idea that the fringe, you cut the fringe yourself.
Like, I'm not here, fringe.
Yeah, exactly. It's this idea of perfection in imperfections. So
Totally.
it's really celebrating those imperfections. You know,
Yes,
not everything
yeah.
needs to be perfect. Back to basics.
Totally.
And let's talk a little bit about hair color, because what we were also seeing is that narrative from the fashion running through to the hair color story. So definitely a play on nudes, beiges, and earth. Elements of the earth are really central to this story. And as you can see with some of the images, we've got a bit of a root stretch going through here. We've got harmony between different colors. And if we think back to semi-color, because remember, this is central, the nudes are your real go-to with this story.
Yeah.
So that is our first trend story. Okay, so now let's jump into our second trend story, Fresh Hawaii. Have you ever been to Hawaii?
No, but I'm planning to in February.
Oh, amazing. Can I come with you?
No.
Oh, this makes
Yes,
me
of
so-
course.
Oh, thank you. Fresh Hawaii. I think if we, not to go too much onto 2020, but just the name of it sounds great, no? Like the
Yeah.
escapism. You know, getting away.
Makes you happy.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that's why we're having a shoot at Hawaii.
I'm so jealous. So, if you think about Fresh Hawaii, and even just the connotations to the name, well, the fashion narrative is exactly the same. It's really fresh, attention to details, fine embellishments. There really is a real beauty and attention to detail here. If we go a little bit further into the fashion narrative, you really see a beautiful link to pastels. And
Yes.
do you agree, pastels? I don't think they're ever going to die.
No.
Right? It's such an important.
They are there and they're gonna stay there.
Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah.
And what we see with the pastels is that we see an evolution of them. So more towards the blocking of colours and layering different colours next to each other. But the story isn't only about pastels, it's also about metallics, so colours that have that beautiful shimmer to them. You'll also see in the imagery, the cut is really important. So there is this element of strength and yet ultra femininity.
Yeah, and very graphic also.
Yeah,
as you know, it's like
yeah,
it's
there's like these
there.
graphic forms, but
It's
then-
quite a statement also.
Absolutely. I really am in love with this. So let's go a little further into the world of Ilham and the world of styling and hair.
Hair, yes. Well, you know, what I saw is there is a lot of middle parting, but also, you know, silhouette hugging hair, you know,
Yeah.
which is like the really nice, it's almost like virgin haircuts, you know, that surrounds your face and it fits very well and in a soft, natural way.
Yeah.
Which I love, of
Yeah.
course. So like that, you can play with the natural texture of hair and you can just enhance the styling look by using the right products. And yeah, it's all about the natural movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the images now and take a
Yeah.
good look at them. I love it.
But
because-
even though the short pixie haircuts
Yeah.
that you can see, they are really like, you know, you can't even see where it starts and when it
Yeah.
ends. It's so natural
Yeah.
and that's what I love.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I think this is really in your world, right?
Totally.
It's fantastic,
Yes.
really. And let's continue into the world of color, because just like with the fashion narrative, so we spoke about metallics and pastels, maybe not necessarily pastels, but definitely we're talking here about the world of toners and glazes. So thinking lighter bases, these beautiful shimmering of different colors. And of course, semi-color is completely built for this. It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, the shine is insane. It's incredible. Yeah, really. I love it.
And you see here, we've got like this beautiful champagne tone being mixed next to these two slightly warmer colors. So there's a definite narrative here with the play on color palette and placement. Really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So I guess let's move on to our next trend story.
Tropical.
Yeah. Tropical old school. It sounds kind of fun, right?
It sounds really like
a cocktail.
tropical cocktail.
Yeah. Should we grab a cheeky
Let's go.
After the session today?
Let's do it.
Oh, we totally want to do that. Okay, so tropical old school. Quite simply put, it really is the beautiful blending of both the trends. So it would be a bit like if Ilham took the top part of my outfit and kept the bottom half.
And you took the skirt.
Yeah, maybe. I like to live life on the edge sometimes. It really is. It really is that. It's this idea of the mixing of the two. Think of it as like the preppy grandpa. So the garments are a little oversized. They're not too tailored, but there is always one statement piece. So whether...
Yes, but it's still like the fabric is amazing. It's silky, it's elegant, it's really like high end.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point, that, you know, when you are accessorizing, just one beautiful piece can give the wow factor, right?
Even though it's oversized, you know, but still the fabric and the color, and that gives it like the...
It gives it that ooh la la, let's do it, but absolutely.
Totally.
So if we continue that narrative, because of course the clothing is maybe, we've got a statement piece, slightly androgynous. So if we go into the hair, I'll just talk very briefly and then I'll hand over to Ilham. You know, the clothing is slightly androgynous, so the hair is ultra, ultra, ultra feminine with that beautiful retro feel to it. And I think this is totally in your world, right?
Yes, because I love, you know, I love retro hairstyles, very feminine, but I love also when we as hairdressers get the chance to polish the hair and to make it even more beautiful, still in a natural way, but it's still very luxury and very, you know, done hair in an undone way. Do you know what I mean? Just a bit of...
Yeah, we'll find out later. Because, of course, this is the maestro of styling, so I'm always, I'm sure you guys will be really fascinated when Ilham says, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah,
well, you know, yes.
I can't wait. Really, I'm so excited. And then continuing on with the color story, again, it's a bit of a mix of the two, but the key here is, again, attention to detail. So we're talking here of these really iridescent, dusty tones playing on different color levels, and it's almost like an optical illusion. So when you look at the hair, you can see that there is something, but it's not obvious.
Yes.
You know, it's like when the light hits the hair, there's something very interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like something magical going on with the hair. It's really like, you know, is that a natural color? No. Yes, no. And that's like, wow. And a lot of shine, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is tropical old school. Let's move on to our next trend. Okay, let's go on to the last trend story, digital
flowers.
Flowers, indeed.
Yes.
It sounds so nice, right?
It's amazing. It's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, me as well. I think it's so beautiful. I think the first thing you will all see on the photographs are the beauty in the colors, and color really pops here. So what we're seeing is these beautiful, you've got a black or dark backdrop with these amazing accents of colors. And there's something you really noticed, right, with this?
I mean, the craftsmanship, the art, you know, the refinement. And if you see how these fabrics are like, it's almost like art, you know, and it's so beautiful. And, you know, in terms of hair, there is so many creative things to get out of this trend. So it's beautiful,
It really is. I totally agree. It's
really
totally
well done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and I think In colour, for sure, what we see here is these accents that create this slightly sci-fi, this slightly modern effect, yet it's still very soft. There's something else that's very central to the story, and of course the Netherlands is famous for this.
Yes, denim,
yeah,
of course, yeah.
The birthplace of denim. And when we talk about denim, we're not necessarily talking about the cuts or the shapes, but again, as you've already mentioned, Ilham, the detailing, and the detailing in terms of prints and colours, so how the colours are used to create shapes within a structure, I think is really cool, right?
Yes, yeah.
It's really, really fantastic.
It's beautiful though.
So, let's continue with the hair story. And what do you see here with hair?
Well, the thing is, this is also so amazing because I saw so many soft shapes, but really with detailed combined with strong lines, you know?
Yeah.
It's really about that sharp side part, deep side part, or even though if you're working with a nice wave in the front, you keep it very soft in the back and then you hit those lines and you know, you just make them very strong and intense, and that's something that I love. The combination of both gives you like a really strong hairstyle.
I think it's really, really, really beautiful. And if we go even further on the world of color, of course the color narrative fits that styling narrative beautifully. So here we're talking about darker color levels here. So, you know, in the last 3 trend stories, we've spoken really about blondes, brunettes, iridescents. What we're talking about here are darker bases and the playful mixes of accents. So, thinking of the new semi-color, I'm just shooting from the hip, let's say. Think the new 3-1, that beautiful new ink. That new inky colour with that beautiful blue tone in there, and in playing with accents of our new mixed colours, you can really create some beautiful results on darker bases.
Yes,
so we've really got a trend for everyone, right?
For everyone.
Really, really great. So while we're still on that topic, let's do a quick sum up of the 4 trend stories. Are we ready?
Go for it. Yes. Boom.
Okay, let's do this. So we have 4 key trend stories. The main narrative is back to basics, simplicity, balance and health. Healthy hair, beautiful shine, and of course semi-color is one of the key heroes to help obtain amazing results and meet those needs. If we go through the 4 key trend stories, kicking off with the first one, we have outdoor indoor, so super functional. We're working with a bit of androgyny. Not everything is super fitted, but it's comfort and practicality. There's slightly utility feel to it. Then we move on to our fresh Hawaii, where Ilham is going in February and I want to join her, but I can't. Fresh Hawaii is all about metallics, pastels, color blocking. Really, the answer is in the name. Not to forget beautiful details and embellishments. Then moving on to tropical old school. Here we've got a collaboration between both of the 2 trends. If you think we've got that slightly utility feel, yet with these beautiful details, or a statement piece that really pops. Something that's got color and details within it. Just with this one, very important to note, if we think about hair and hair structure or forms, we've got maybe a fit or a cut of the fashion narrative that isn't necessarily super ultra feminine, but the femininity is in the hair. And then last but not least, digital flowers. And this is all about those beautiful details and pops of colors. So that's really the key narrative for spring-summer 2021. I guess now it's time to do some magic with hair, right?
Yes, please.
You ready for this?
Always. I'm always ready. I'm born ready to do hair. I love to do it.
We're super excited, and I'm really super excited to see what you do.
Thank you so much.
So let's get going. Let's do it.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back. So as you've already seen before, we have presented to you the key trends for spring and summer 2021. I'm super excited to share with you my interpretation of one of the 2 haircuts based on those 2 trends. But let's quickly have a little look or do a deeper dive into where that inspiration comes from. So let's kick off with the first trend. that first inspiration comes from one of our key themes for next year, which is all based on the concept of fresh Hawaii. As you can see with the shapes, they're quite playful, structured, but there's still a softness and a delicate approach to them. This is absolutely the direction that we're going to take. The focus is going to be on a reinterpretation of the mullet, but what I want to do is really tailor it to the model, and as you'll see later, we're going to play with the classic form, but with a slightly contemporary twist. Now let's talk a little bit about the color story, but we'll go a bit deeper later on. We took our inspiration here from our digital flower, and this is all about the mixing of darker hues. I love the idea of ink and water and how reflective that is and how iridescent that can be. So I think the two combination of the color and the cut work really, really beautifully, and I'm sure you are really going to love the result. So first things first, let's see what we've already done. We're going to show you the before photo, and as you can clearly see from the photo, we've already done a little bit of color work, but we'll come back to that a little later. So let's start talking about the sectioning pattern. Now, sectioning, as we all know, is incredibly important because this really forms the map or your guide for the haircut. Without a great sectioning pattern and a logic, you lose that systematic approach to the structure. So don't worry, we're going to show you the sectioning pattern now, but don't worry if you don't remember it, because as we work throughout the haircut, we will always refer back to this. So I'm going to go and grab my model, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we've shampooed the hair, and here we have our lovely model. We've already just briefly spoke a little bit about the sectioning, but now I want to show you what we've done, and more importantly, why we have done it. So we've started off by taking a slightly horizontal shape through the top, working from recession, and just around the highest point of the head. Behind that, we've then taken a circular section that rounds below the crown area. Effectively, we're working in 3 complete sections. These are our 3 major sections that we're going to work with. We're going to be working with the principles of disconnection and undercutting, but not undercutting in the sense of the 1980s where it's very, very strong and very aggressive. Here we're working with a form that is going to create flatness. Really important to note, this is one of the reasons why we've taken the sections the way we have. Under here, this is going to be cut flatter to the head shape where the widest part of the head is. So this is going to create space for the top area to sit over that. Effectively, we will work in 3 completely different zones, starting through the back area, executing a 1-length line. That will be our first step, working slightly triangular, but 1 length still, and then working with an internal reverse layer to create flatness through that back area. And don't worry, because it is a little bit of a complicated shape, but it seems complicated, but once everything comes together, it really works beautifully. And as we work onto each section, we will recap exactly what we're doing, so you're with us every step of the way of this journey. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is work through this underneath area by executing a 1-length line with a slightly triangular pattern to it. Start through the center profile as you would with a traditional 1-length line. I personally like to cut the whole of one side before I move on to the other. This gives me more control when I'm working. It helps increase my discipline throughout my technique, and it actually helps really keep your body positioning in maximum control. So I'm just going to isolate the other side. Tilt the head forward slightly, and we're going to work in the fingers. We want around 1 finger's depth elevation. We don't want to create something that's too solid through this back area. So execute diagonal forward, like so. Just keep everything clean, so I'm going to rework this section here. And I'm going to always, when I'm working, clip and anchor the hair away from the face. And if necessary, you can always comb it over the ear if necessary. So I'm just going to clean up this side. And you'll notice the side that I'm not cutting, I always place a clip below and above. That really anchors everything in place. Okay, so let's start. Going to use the wide teeth of the comb, like so. Comb this down to natural fall. Angle the fingers very slightly. We're just going to work in those edges. And I am going to take that just a touch shorter. And then what we will do is we're going to continue this exact formation the whole way through to the sides, working with some slight over direction, so we still keep a bit more length around that front area. So I'm going to continue. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the build-up of a triangular shape through here. It's quite strong. Of course, there is some graduation in here. I'm really not too worried about this because later on, we're going to be working on the interior of the shape. We're now going to repeat the same process on the opposite side of the hair. Obviously, be mindful that we are following a guide. So what we're going to do is just clip away some of that opposite side, just get that out of the way. We're going to use that as our visual guide. It is quite important, of course, to note the body positioning. As you can see, I'm a lefty. So if you're a right-handed hairdresser, think the opposite. Always think in reverse. So on one side, my fingers are pointing down towards the ground. Very slightly, they're pointing towards the floor. On the other side, they're going to be pointing up towards the ceiling. Maybe not the ceiling, but up in the opposite direction. So we're traveling with the line. Once again, using the wide teeth of the comb. Using that central point as our guide. Conscious of our finger and body positioning. And we're going to go through and remove that excess length. And we're now going to continue the process like we did with the other side, using some over direction. Now, something that you might have noticed already when the hair is damp is how the color is changing as the hair is starting to dry. You might particularly note, particularly around this front zone here, if I comb this down, you can see there's something really interesting happening here. Now, of course, today, the focus is on the cut. But if you do want to know a little bit more, then do make sure that you check out our Instagram page, where we're going to be showcasing the formula and the sectioning pattern on the 20th of January 2021. And I think it would be very interesting. This is a very simple but accessible technique that you can use in the salon and really on trend. Okay, so as you can now see, we've worked on the layering. We've worked with a slightly triangular classic one length line. You can see we've got that beautiful curve through that back area. That's going to help the hair travel onto the face and create a really interesting structure. As you can also see, what we did was we did one final check on those sides, just turning the head. Not quite a classic one length, but that isn't really what I'm trying to achieve here. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to start disrupting this shape. This is really where the magic is going to happen. So now what we're going to do is going to work through the center back and start with working with our anti-head layer. So we're going to start layering against the head shape. Effectively, this is going to create space for all of that top to sit in. So I think this is going to be very, very interesting. Just a few points. Body positioning, hand positioning, and discipline is really key when you're executing the underneath area, when you're layering, because it's really essential that we're not cutting much more off this, but what we are doing is we're taking it from a one length to an anti-head layer. So what we want to do here, we're going to work through. You can see here, this is the length that I've already cut. I don't need to cut that anymore. However, what I now need to do, I need to remove all of this internal part through here. What I want to do is create this shorter band of layers, because if you think, this is really where the most of the hair is, right? So if we keep it one length, naturally the shape is going to sit slightly more bulbous, more like a classic bob line. This is definitely not the direction that we want to go. So we're going to now proceed with our undercut. Okay, so what we're now doing is we're working with our anti-head layer. So we're using the length as a guide, but we're removing the excess weight through this underneath zone. What this will do is it's going to create flatness where the widest part of the head is. And you will be able to see already, as we're combing the hair down, already the shape instinctively is following, it's hugging that head shape. So this is absolutely the right direction for us to work on. What we will do is we'll continue working with a vertical formation until we reach really the ear, and then we're now going to we will then over direct all the hair back, and then we're going to add a beautiful little detail around the front here just to create this beautiful pop around the hairline. So we've still got that length, but we've got these kind of graphic elements tucked away deep inside of the haircut. I think it's going to be really beautiful for this type of hair because we have a lot of hair here that we're working with. So, you know, we can really afford with going in there and removing that excess. Okay, so as you can see now, we've still got the length, but what we've done is we've created this really cool base now for the shape to sit on. And you can see if I step away, maybe it's a little bit clearer, but you have a triangular form through the perimeter with also an anti-head layer that still works with different principles of over direction. So that also creates this really cool subtle roundness inside of the shape. Now the last thing I want to do is just add a bit of detail around this front zone. So nothing too crazy, but you see we have these little hairs through here, so I just want to work a little bit with them, just to really give that haircut a little bit of a pop. So I'm just going to comb this down, just rest my fingers through the top, and I'm just going to chisel part of this corner away. Not going too crazy or too deep. This is also equally very important. Use the comb just to comb away the excess. And this is great because what this does is it creates this little pop inside the haircut. So it's not just a generic, mullet shape. There's something interesting happening in here. And if you look really closely, it actually enhances the color. Like so. I hope you like it. I love working with little details and subtleties within the haircut because that's what really makes something, more tailor-made. And I think this is really what our customers are, demanding from us now. So just create something that's truly unique for your client. Yeah, I think that's looking really cool. I hope you guys like it. I think it's fabulous. So what we're going to do now is we're going to allow the underneath to air dry. Now, if I wanted to, I could blow dry the hair underneath, wrap dry the hair underneath, and work a little bit more with it. But I want to see what the organic texture of the hair is going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of the Blowout Jelly because this has got a great hold factor and it's going to help really enhance the organic movement that's already in there. And then later when I really polish and work more on it, this product is already going to help me. So I'm just going to add one pump, work it through the form. Now remember, we don't want too much width through this zone here. And the haircut's already lent towards that anyway, but I'm just going to flatten this underneath zone down a bit and just work through those mid-lengths and those ends. And you can see already the shape in combination with the product is just bringing out that beautiful organic texture. I'm just going to work with my brush just to distribute the product, just to see what's happening. Perfect. So this is the base of the shape. You can see we've got that beautiful anti-head layer. We've got that flatness sitting in at the thickest part. Now we're going to move on to the top section. Okay, so we've completed the underneath and we're now going to allow that to air dry. What we've done is we've isolated these back areas with 2 clips. What that will do is that will create flatness. We've tucked it behind the ear. That will create flatness and allow for this organic movement to do its magic. Now what we will do is we're going to work inside this circular section through the crown. Now it's really important because we've worked with an undercut. So for sure, we don't want to be connecting with the shortest length of the undercut. Otherwise, the whole top area is going to be way too short. So what we will do is we're going to work with a visual guide, starting from the center and then bringing everything into that point. And I'm going to fill this guide. So it's not necessarily a technical guide, it's more of a visual guide. We're going to work round and then into some over direction. So we create this beautiful flatness, this amazing silhouette. So let's get started. Now I'm just noting here where that length is going to fall forward, but I'm also seeing before I proceed how this fits with the head shape. And I can see already there's a beautiful bevel. It bevels very nicely with the head shape, so we've got a great length here. So we're now going to continue that principle, but now we're going to start over directing slightly. So round into over directed. Now, of course, there is going to be a risk of excess length sitting over the perimeter, but don't worry about this. We can work on this later on. And always just check to see how that shape is sitting in. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but I can see I'm definitely on the right tracks of this. So now we're going to over direct the following sections to our major. And you'll also notice that I'm working with a pointing technique as opposed to a club cutting technique. That is because I want to support the diffusion of those different layers. And you should be able to see already with the undercut working, if I release the other side, you can see already, look how beautiful that shape is hugging the head. So you can see by undercutting, we created that beautiful space, this really interesting shape. So even though it is a mullet, you've also got ways to experiment, expand and play on this form. So now what we will do is repeat the same process on the opposite side. However, this time round, I'm staying in the same position. On one side, I'm pulling. On the other side, I'm pushing. That helps me really keep the discipline as I'm working. Okay, and now we are just finishing up here. Exactly the same process. Just working through. So pushing into the middle and following that stationary guide. Now the reason why we're working with over direction here is because what we don't want is for the top to sit like a helmet. We want the top to really caress and hug the head shape, but still be really feminine and really beautiful. Of course, I'm also just checking as well, so you can see there's a little bit on that final section. So always check, and that's something that's very important when you're working with a disconnection. You're always checking and checking and checking, making sure that your shape and balance is absolutely spot on. And look at that shape. I think that is really, really beautiful. I'm loving this. Because you can see everything is starting to come alive now with this form. So you've got that beautiful silhouette and that beautiful internal length here. I'm just going to work a little bit on the perimeter because you can, as I've already explained, there is a little bit of excess. So I'm just going to go through and just chisel those edges. But I'm working with a slightly higher elevation through here. Very quick, very easy. And just working with the points. Okay, so now we're moving on to our final section.
What we're going to do with the final section is we're going to use that length, the internal length at the crown, with also the shortest point on the front. So I've already agreed beforehand that we're going to incorporate some form of sweep. It's not really a fringe per se, but that kind of idea. So we're now going to create a new guide through the front and then visually connect it with this back zone. We're going to start with a center profile. As I've already explained to you before, I really like working on one side of the haircut before moving on to the other. This gives me a lot more control and discipline when I'm working throughout my technique. Now this central zone is going to be cut from short to long. So we certainly don't want to be cutting from long to short. We want to be going from the shortest length to the longest length. So positioning is really key here. Now, because I'm left-handed, it's really essential that I stand on the correct side of the head. So I'm just going to take a slightly smaller section through here. Now, we've already agreed that the shortest point is going to be sitting around the brow line, but of course the hair is wet, it's quite strong, there's a natural bounce to it. So I'm going to play it a little safer and just keep it a touch longer. You can always cut it shorter, but you can't put it back on. And you can see, if you look very carefully, can you see how strong the growth pattern is in this front zone? So if I really cut it too short, it's going to naturally coil out of the head. Now here we're going to work with an inversion technique, working from short into long, and really being quite aggressive with the over direction here. Even though we're going to be cutting a lot off to connect it to the back, it's always good to have a bit more hair to play with. And you can see, look at the discipline when I'm working. Just drop it down, just to check the shape, and then we move on to the next section. Horizontals, straight up into the middle. And you can see already, because of the way that we've worked with the shape, if I turn my lovely model around, you can see we've got that beautiful curve already being created. So now we're going to do the same on the other side. Same principle as before, one side I'm going to pull, the other side I'm going to push. That gives me maximum discipline. And we're also just going to check the shape and the balance just to make sure that we're on the right path. I think we're good. I don't think we're good. I know we're good. Okay, so now what we want to do is now connect that front zone with the zone through the crown here. This is going to create a really interesting shape. If you look at all the angles that we're working with, it's going to create this really beautiful diffusion inside of the form. So here, we don't need to worry about the front. Let that drop away. We're now going to take a center profile through that back area that we previously cut, like so. Elevate this up, and we're now going to work from short into long. And you can see we have a corner here, and that's where we're going to be focusing now. Here, I'm going to work with the points, just so it's a slightly softer diffusion between back, top, and front. And like with previous, we're going to bring everything up into the center. And just make sure that we've got all of that hair. And I think you can see already how that shape is coming along. It's got that beautiful roundness to it. And now we're going to repeat exactly the same process on the opposite side. Okay, so there we have it. We have the final form. So now I'm just going to check the disconnected panels through the top, just to make sure that everything's sitting where I want it to. I'm loving this angle that we've got through here. It's really beautiful. Because you've got that gorgeous sweep through the front. And because of how we've cut the back, we're directing all of the underneath weight forwards, working with our triangular line and then our reverse layer, then into round through that top zone. And of course, directing everything backwards and then forwards. So it creates this very, very interesting structure. Okay. So that is the basic shape now completed. So what we will now do is I'm going to take the model away, I'm going to blow dry her hair, and then I'm going to finish off showing you a few tips and tricks on how to really personalize this haircut. Okay, so we've now worked with the blow dry. We've just did really more of a wrap dry technique, but just polished some zones with the rounded brush. As you can see, we've got quite a beautiful silhouette already in here, and that's with really no manipulation, no real manipulation of the hair. All I want to do now is just very easily go through, and I'm just going to work through with just refining the edges of the hair. We're not cutting out huge amounts here, but we're really focusing on just personalizing and really enhancing the haircut even further. I'm not going too deep with the texturizing, and as you can see, we're not cutting out these, large sections. We're just working through with refining the form. Because as you can see that my lovely model, she's got a lot of hair, so I want to make sure that the shape really is looking its very best. So we're going to do this throughout the entirety of the top section. The underneath doesn't really need it. We're just going to work this through the surface. And you can see already how much more beautiful this shape is sitting in. I want to just work a little more through this central zone. I'm loving how that shape's sitting in through here. I just want to work a little bit more heavy-handed just through this internal part. So we are going a bit stronger with our technique. We're still working with principles of over direction, so we're not going too crazy. We're still mirroring the original form of the haircut. And of course, try and not remove the face mask, because this is always our new salon challenge, right? And of course, with texturizing, you have to always be very careful not to go overboard, because it's quite easy to create a beautiful structure and then completely disrupt it or change the shape through your texturizing. So it's also knowing when to really stop with the shape. So I'm going to blast the hair through now with cool air, just to check. And I'm going to just turn my lovely model so you can see the shape as well. And I can see we need to do a little bit more work just through this last section here. That's exactly why we do this. There we go, just there. So always really important to check, check, and check. Okay, so now just to finish this off, quite like the rawness of the texture, so to be honest with you, we're not really going to do too much of this. I want the haircut to do the work. And I think you can also really see the beauty and the color through here. And like I said already, if you want to find out a bit more, don't forget to check out our Instagram on the 20th of January. This is where we'll be showcasing what we've done with the color. All right, nice. I hope you like it. Just to do a little sum up. Well, do you like it actually, from what you can see? So we've done a rework of a mullet shape. We've really interpreted it using both our key trend stories. So digital flower really for the color, and then working through with our Fresh Hawaii. I had a memory block for a moment there. Fresh Hawaii for the form and the structure. So as we've already explained, you can really cocktail and mix and layer the different forms on together. Very briefly to recap the haircut, we've worked with what we call a keyhole. So a circular section through this crown zone into a rectangular section through this front. We've worked with a triangular one length technique into a reverse layer that creates an anti-head shape through the underneath area, and also creates space for the top to sit in. And you can actually see already, look, you can see the flatness that you've got in here is beautiful. Then through the top area, we've worked with a rounded layer into inversion and then out into square through the front, over directing everything into that middle area. So we're going to just do a few final touches, and then we're going to show you the before and the after, because I always think it's very nice to see that journey with the client. So I hope you like it, and thank you very much. Okay, so as you can see, we've done a little bit more polishing with it, and I think you'll agree it's really beautiful. I love it. Do you love it?
I love it.
It's beautiful. We've really brought out my model's true beauty, and of course the shine, right? It's really incredible. Anyway, that's enough of me, and thank you for watching. I'm super curious, and I'm sure you guys are, of what Ilham's going to do with it. So all I say is watch this space.
First of all, I would love to thank Jon for this amazing haircut. It's one of my favorites actually, because the shag cut, it's there and it's going nowhere. I mean, this is such an iconic haircut. I love all these soft feathery layers around the face, and I mean, you know, it's a really iconic haircut. Think about Mick Jagger, David Bowie, Jane Fonda in the 70s. And it gives us also the opportunity to create different kind of styles. So it can be very feminine, but as it is a unisex haircut, you can go wild with it. So I would love to start with the first styling. So I'm gonna use the, where is it? The Instant Blowout. As you all know, I would love to build up products. So I'm starting very medium, soft hold products, and from there I can build it up. Just make sure you divide the product all the way around, from the roots till the ends. Don't be afraid to use products, because it will help you to achieve an amazing end result. And I'm going to start blow drying. I'm not using any brush, just my hands to give the hair more direction to the front. So now I'm going to start underneath using a curling iron, just to give it a bit more texture. And very soft. Doesn't need to be like really curly, but just to bend the hair a bit more in the right direction, would I say? There you go. So it depends, of course, on the hair texture. She has quite thick hair. Normally I would use just a tiny bit more spray and curl the hair, but in her case she has a lot of hair, so I'm not using any spray at the moment. Because we have all this beautiful feather layered hair, so make sure you take small sections. Don't go too big. And just turn the hair around the barrel. just to bend the ends. I don't know if you can see it because the hair is quite dark. So as you can see, my focus is just the ends. So I'm not going all the way to the roots because I don't want to add any volume on the roots. It's more about bending the ends of the hair around the barrel. There you go. So as you can see, the difference is already there. You can see a bit more texture, which I love. It's really nice. So right now I'm gonna just do the transformation with using products, different kind of products, build it up, and I will keep the same texture but then in a different way. So we start with a soft finish because we use the blowout. No, what did we use? We used the, blowout. So we use the blowout for the soft medium hold, and from there I'm gonna build it up little by little. So one of my favorite mixes are the Keratin Smooth Serum and the Keratin Silkening Polish. So to have more shine, and you know, it's really soft and you don't even feel it in the hair. That's really important also. And then we give her a head massage, which is quite nice. I hope she enjoyed. So actually this kind of products for people who don't want to feel any product in the hair but still want to have a bit more definition and shine. So actually it's not a styling product but a care product, so you can still wear the shag in a way, in a soft feminine way. So we build it up a bit right now, and actually we are going straight to the salt mist. There we go, and the salt mist, just make sure you massage it in the hair. So we're not using brushes, we're not using any kind of tools anymore. It's just the magic of your hands. That's what you're using right now. So it gets already a tiny bit more texturized, and using the texture spray will give it even more a nice dry feeling. Oh, we're getting somewhere, no? So there are many options. If you want to use a dry paste, you can use the dry paste also. But I think for now, I kind of like it. It's beautiful. There you go. I will be back to you just in a minute to do another styling option. So for the second transformation, and that's what I love about hair, the transformation, and just by using another product, it gives you totally another look. So I'm going to keep the texture as it is, and we're just going to add another product, and one of my favorites actually is the Brilliantine gel, just to give it a bit more chunky, wet look-ish vibe. And we can mix the Brilliantine gel also with a couple of drops of the keratin serum. Just make sure you divide the product very well in between your fingers and just go all the way through the hair. Don't be afraid that you use too much product, because in this case you can and you should. Try to divide the products very well. And what I love about the Brilliantine gel, it doesn't matter what kind of texture you created with it. Curling iron or a straightener, a flat wave, it will stay. So you don't need to be afraid that you need to do it all over again. Last but not least, gloss spray. Et voilà! This is another version of the shag, but just in a more, chunky, wet look. I hope you liked it, and I will say, yeah, just go and have fun with it and dare to play with different kind of products and building up the right products to achieve a certain look. Thank you very much. So let's have a recap of what we did. The two transformations, which I started first with the instant blowout spray. As you all know, I love to build up the products. So I started with the instant blowout spray on dry hair. Blow dry the hair without any brushes or combs, just with the hand. From there I used the curling iron, not the medium. It's like slightly a size smaller than the medium, and it depends on the length, of course. So I started underneath and I started to bend the hair around the barrel just to break down the hair and give it more definition. And I went all the way to the front. So when I ended using the curling iron, I started to use different kind of products to build up. So I started with a bit of keratin serum and the silkening polish, just for a really nice, natural, soft finish. If you want to build it up, you can start using the dry paste or the texturizing spray and build it up even with the salt mist. As you saw, just using the salt mist will change the texture of the hair. And even though we're using a spray, don't be afraid, because the curl and the wave is still there. It's not gonna go anywhere, it's there. So from there, as you all know, I love to finish always with a wet look. I'm so sorry, story of my life. So I use the Brilliantine gel in combination with the serum drops. So that's an amazing combination, and you really need to use a lot of products to achieve this kind of wetness in the hair, but it's still very sophisticated. So I hope you all liked it, and let's go to the second look. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm about to start my second look from the current of Spring-Summer 2021. We're going to show the fringe, but that is all I'm going to show you. If you want to discover more, then make sure that you check out our Instagram page on the 27th of January, where we do a much deeper dive. Okay, so we're now going to start the technique through the fringe area. The reason for this is because the hair's got a natural wave, so I want to go with that wave. We've got a beautiful triangular form through here. That's there because of the contours through the front. Quite simply, because the hair is a little bit on the naturally the finer side, I'm actually going to take this in one section, combing it from above. I'm really resting it in my fingers with one finger's elevation. And we're going to go through, pointing towards the wall and keeping that nice and strong. Just drop that away, and now we're going to move on the other side using the center as our guide. And then finishing off this section using just some slight over direction on the corners. If there's hair falling away, don't worry about it. You can go back in and add that. Once finished, we will allow the hair to dry organically, and then we will work on the rest of the fringe later on. Okay, so this is the finished result. I love it. I hope you love it. Do you love it?
I really love it.
She really loves it. Hear that? Isn't that amazing? And that's exactly why we do what we do, because of course the most important person is the woman or the client sitting in the chair. And I think we've really created the best version of her. And I think she looks incredible. So this is my interpretation of the trend, but I'm sure you're super excited to see how Ilham takes this and makes it her own. Thank you so much for watching.
Hi guys, as you saw, Jon cut the fringe, and I will show you two different techniques how to style the fringe. So the focus is just on the fringe today. So first of all, I'm just gonna add a tiny bit root volumizer on the roots to give it more volume. And then in the length, I will use a tiny bit of the soft mousse. And I will start blow drying the fringe with a medium brush. it's quite important when you blow dry a fringe, use a medium heat. Once you're heading to the front, make sure you low down your temperature to the cold so it's much easier and also friendly for the client. So as you can see, it's a really nice volume around the face, and I just use the come with a tail to get more direction to the front. But I love the way how Jon cut it. It's really like it's a blend fringe, but still with a really nice soft finishing. There you go. Let's go to the second styling. And I will use the curling iron to just give it a bit more texture. And of course, we can always, when you have a fringe, it's not necessary to wear it to the front. When you blow dry the fringe like this with a nice volume, it looks very natural. You can also play with the middle part and even give it a bit more a 70s vibe, as you can see. So you can wear it from the middle part or all the way to the front. So now I'm just going to use the curling iron to just give it a tiny bit more movement. Really nice to just play around and make sure not to make it like really curly, but just break it down a bit more. And I love to use the, where is it? There it is, the dry paste, just a tiny bit. You start first by giving it a bit more volume with blow drying the hair. And then you give it a nice texture with the curling iron. It depends on the curling iron, of course. You know, the bigger the curling iron, the less wave or textured hair you will get. And you can finish it also a tiny bit with a soft set spray. Et voila! Actually, those are the two different kind of quick styling. So, do you want to see more on how we're gonna finish this style? Just go to our Instagram account and be ready for the 27th January. See you then.
Okay, so there we have it. You have successfully made it to the end, which is good. So I want to thank you for being here, because that means that we've kept your attention throughout the whole session. I really hope that you come away from this feeling motivated and inspired, because, you know, at the end of the day, this is exactly, you know, what we all do, is to make sure that client in the chair is their best version of themselves. So let's do a little recap of everything that we have covered in today's session. If we think back to the beginning, we gave you an introduction into the whole concept of what's really happening in the world of fashion at this moment in time, or let's say the mood. I think that's a better way to approach this. So if we think back to 2019, we really were, you know, working harder and harder, faster and faster. We wanted more and more volume, more shine, more this, more color. So really 2019 was all about extravagance and really going overboard. Then something happened in 2020 which totally flipped our mindset, which means that when we moved into 2021, our perspective was completely flipped on itself. So if you think about how all of us have been, we're looking inwards on our health, the health of our hair, the health of our body, our diets, and we're completely approaching it in a very different way. And of course, hair is no different. And one of the key things that we've definitely have seen in terms of the market is shine, shiny hair and healthy hair. So of course, one of the best products in the world of Keune, of course, is semi-color. This is one of the most powerful weapons that you have in your arsenal to really meet the needs of those clients. So that's really the feeling. Then we break it down into the 4 sub-trends. So we identified 4 key zones. Let's kick off with the first one. The first one that we really identified was the concept of outdoor and indoor. And outdoor and indoor is this concept of you know, functional wear, comfortable wear, back to basics. So very simplistic cuts and forms. And for sure, khaki is really central to the story. Then we moved over to Fresh Hawaii. Oh, if I go back actually to the last one, because let's think about hair. Don't ever forget that. Even though, and I just did it, we're thinking about fashion, always link it back to hair. Don't forget that, right? So if we think about semi-color, nudes is definitely central to that narrative. So let's move on to the next one, Fresh Hawaii. Now, Fresh Hawaii is all about that concept of being a bit more playful, attention to detail, fine embellishments. If we are thinking about the hair narrative or hair color, glazes or the semi-color glazes are absolutely central to the story here. Then we move on to our third trend. And here, if you think back to the preppy grandpa, this I think is fabulous. This is really the perfect mixing of both of the previous 2 trend narratives. So it's not quite as simplistic as outdoor indoor, and it's a little bit more expansive than Fresh Hawaii. It's a perfect blend of the 2. And if we think back to hair products or hair color, it is the perfect blending of those different principles. So think of the nudes, the glazes, these iridescent colors. Think, you know, different ways of playing with warm color palettes to create different effects inside of the hair. Then last but not least, we move on to our digital flowers. This is the perfect color or the perfect trend when we're thinking of darker color bases. So this one I really go straight in on hair because I think my mind already goes straight into this. But let's go back to the fashion story. Strong cuts and strong forms with beautiful details in terms of the colors. And the reason why I'm going straight to hair is because this is perfect for your darker bases. If you look at the other 3 trend stories, it's always on a lighter base, more muted, more nude. Here, what we're talking of is these pops of colors on darker color levels. And don't forget, with the new semi-color, we have launched the brand new mixed tones, and that really helps you expand and play and be really creative with an already fantastic product portfolio. So that's the first element. Then, of course, we showed you the reinterpretation of the classic mullet haircut, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. What we did here is we took a classic form, and really the form was inspired really by tropical old school, so that's really where the haircut came in, and then the color was really inspired by digital flowers. So that's actually a very good point, the color, because I'm sure some of you are thinking, yeah, the color looks nice, but I really want to see it. Well, don't worry, because of course we have a color technique and the recipes which you can check out on our social media, on Instagram to be more precise, and that's going to be available on the 20th of January. But not only one, we will have 2. So both of the techniques that had been executed, you'll be able to see both the color techniques. So then that raises another point. You just mentioned another haircut. Indeed, there is another haircut. If you want to check it out, it will be on the 27th of January. And that's where we're going to be showcasing, without saying too much to you, a reinterpretation of a classic bob haircut. And I really would encourage you to see it because it's a really beautiful harmony between cut and color. So last but not least, when is our next current? I'm sure you'll agree, these are fantastic to keep up to date, keep inspired and keep motivated. Not only are we showcasing our product innovations, but of course we're showcasing and inspiring you with what's happening in the world of fashion and how to link that in with hair. Well, the next current is going to be available on and I have to double check, the 3rd of February 2021. And that is going to be all about the world of color and style. So this session's all about really cutting and of course color. Color is always central to everything that we do, but the next session's really going to be showcasing the world of Keune color. So I want to finish up by saying thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that this has helped you. Don't forget, we're always here for you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. This is my first official webinar for Keune, so it's really a huge honor as always. I'm sorry I can't see you in person, but I want to finish up by saying stay strong, stay healthy, and thank you so much.